It's still the Nigeria Decide Studios, and we are Plus TV. We're live in our Lagos studios. Of course, we did say that we will be bringing you reports as it concerns the suspension of this elections today from other parts of the country. Now, we, of course, earlier on today, we spoke with Amadine Uyi, a correspondent from Abuja, as he kind of,
He's brought us more details, actually. So we have reports from Abuja, and then we also have Ifeanyiwa Aronu, who went out to fill the polls of Lagos as well. But to do analysis to those reports, we have Oghenerieborue Sodje, a public affairs analyst. Thank you very much for joining us. We also have Segun Sopitan as well. Thank you very much, Segun, for coming back on this show. Now, we're expecting that INEC is having a meeting so far, because we're expecting a broadcast at 2 p.m. INEC should bring us up to speed on what is the latest exactly, seeking clarity, but we haven't had that broadcast, so we assume that the meeting is holding clearly. What areas of conversation do you think are holding behind closed doors?
Yeah, so you've thrown us this massive decision to both Nigerians and the whole world. Obviously, you owe us some explanations as to exactly what happened. What's the reason behind it? All we hear is logistics, but what does that mean? So they need to give explanations to all the stakeholders, which are the election observers, international and local, the political parties themselves, government security agencies, and the public. So we need to know what happened. So it's from this information that the uncertainty and the suspense can either be exacerbated or allayed.
I like that word, exacerbated. Mr. Sodje.
No, truly, they will have to tell us the exact challenges they are facing, and meeting with the stakeholders, they will agree on the way forward, the solutions they will prefer, and to even see if the next week date is going to be realistic.
6 days away.
People involved, the media should be there too, as part of the stakeholders, all the political parties, the observers, the international observers, basically. And then I think after that meeting, they brief Nigerians, and to tell them this is what we're going to do next. I have my doubts about what will happen after that, if Saturday is going to be another realistic date.
Before we get to that, there are certain people who have also criticized the way Nigerians have responded to this, postponement of the elections, that no matter what INEC's explanation would be when they come on during the broadcast, it might never be sufficient enough for what they have done. Do you agree or do you disagree?
Yeah, so the challenge we have as a society today is that information is flying practically at the speed of light. And as soon as, in fact, not as soon as, before the official announcement, the information was already out there. We all knew that it was going to be postponed. And not only did we know that, we had snippets of conspiracy theories also flying around. The issue of staggered elections and all that. It's not confirmed, but it's out there. So people have already made up their minds based on the information that has been presented to them, supposedly from confidential, reliable sources. So whatever INEC is saying now, and that's why I say that it's critically important that INEC comes off as credible. The explanation needs to make sense. If they don't do that, then everybody has dug their trenches. They're going to sit in there and wait to see what happens on Saturday.
Mr. Sodje, do you think that INEC might win the sympathies of the people, and they might also play that card of, hey, we have a huge problem here, it wasn't really our fault? Do you think they would be able to win the sympathies of Nigerians?
No, not at all, because even with the media, the press release by the INEC chairman, there was no iota of apologies to Nigerians from a responsible institution to say 3 hours to election, you cancel, people were asleep, is ominous to say the least. And that you came up, didn't say we have challenges. You have been managing your own system without any pressure, and you come up with your own and say we have challenges, and without any apologies to people, is total disregard for the people's feelings. This is going to lead to a lot of challenge with the people. Some people will not even come out to vote because the apathy that we were afraid of, that the media has been trying to get people to come out to vote, will increase.
But isn't this what we were trying to avoid in the first place, with all of the pressure that we put on people with the orientation, drumming it into the ears of people, get your PVC? There's been so much, energy put into getting people involved, and there was an expectation that the turnout this year would be massive because of the contenders.
So how do you see that now? People have traveled to go vote. Schools closed because of that.
Borders shut.
Borders shut.
Cancelled.
Businesses shut down. I went to eat last night late, about 9 o'clock in my club, and the restaurant said they've shut down because they want to close back because they're not cooking today. Now, they can't come up. I've been called this morning that, one of the places there's no food. Markets closed because everybody, people who are prepared to vote with just eagerness and planned for the day to also protect their votes. Suddenly you came that there's postponement. How are you going to deal with all those matters? The ad hoc staff, everybody, even media houses where people have been recalled from vacation, people have been told, people have been deployed to locations, and suddenly this happened. The huge cost of it, the psychological effect will make people to even just give up that there must be something else to it than just what we see. So why should I come out to vote? Probably they have their reasons that they have not told us. So I can't leave my work on Monday again. When I was coming to this studio this morning, gas stations are shut down. Even after 4 hours of the announcement, when people woke up at 6 o'clock, they still shut down because they can't call people to come to work. I gave a ride to somebody at the bus stop. Probably who was called, she told me she was called from the office that since there's no more election, come to the office. There's no transport. Because the buses are all waiting for the election still. People took today too as a day to rest. So if INEC comes up and says, okay, now we're going to meet, they said, let them do what they want.
Weddings were actually cancelled and much more as well. Plans have been altered totally.
Funerals,
next week,
church programs. So next week again,
March 9.
People who have shifted their social engagements and other arrangements from this weekend to next weekend, this date has been fixed for over 6 months. Next weekend again, they have to move it. The costs, the human psychological effect is not going to be, it's immeasurable.
Okay, gentlemen, now we have a package by one of our own correspondents, Oghenerieborue. She went out to Lagos to fill the polls and has this package. Let's just watch and then we'll analyze it.
Etiosa local government area, Ibuefon, Lagos, where the ad hoc staff who had been engaged ahead of the 2019 general election gathered early in the morning for the commencement of the polls. But then on getting here, they were disappointed because the electoral umpire, the Independent National Electoral Commission, had postponed the election just 5 hours before it was meant to commence. I have spoken with a couple of the ad hoc staff who are displeased about how they were treated. Some gave horrible accounts of how they were left at a primary school where they passed the night and how political thugs came to scare them away, beating some, slapping others, and even stealing and pilfering some of valuables owned by the ad hoc staff. That's the kind of experiences that they had to deal with over the night. And on getting here this morning, they got to know that the election had been postponed, and some of them have expressed some disquiet about the training allowance that hasn't been paid. Some actually went for the training and they were promised the stipend, the training allowance, but as at the time of filing this report, INEC officials are telling them that they won't be paid the stipend because their names were not on the manifest list.
We went there for 3 days. Do you expect me I will leave my house for 3 days? You didn't shortlist me. She's citing an example that if we go for exam, that if they didn't take us for the exam, we would kill them. What kind of rubbish example is that? They should be telling us that.
Give us our
If you know you
money. Mrs. Folayemi, give us our money. We need our money.
When we went for the train, they didn't use the list. They just shot.
We see a queue there, and that's for some ad hoc staff whose names are on the manifest list. An official of the Independent National Electoral Commission is reeling out names and giving them the training allowance, and that's just for those whose names are on the manifest list. That is why we still see lots of people in this arena not impressed with the arrangements made by INEC and management of the ad hoc staff who had been engaged. They told me that they consider themselves staff of INEC, and so that the treatment is far from what they expected INEC to do regarding this all-important election, and they already went through lots of rigors. This ad hoc staff are optimistic that INEC would still live up to the expectation and pay them the agreed sum for the conduct of the presidential and National Assembly elections. Ife Arono, reporting for Plus TV Africa, right here at Etiosa local government area, Igboefon, Lagos.
David, I mean, you could see the sheer anger on, you could tell from the voices of these people that they just can't take it anymore. First, they're slipping rough because they couldn't find a place for accommodation. So the accommodation is even an issue. We're not even talking about the hygiene issue again. And then the fact that
political thugs also coming around to scare them,
yes,
peel
they're
for
not
rain.
safe. I mean, I saw a report from Port Harcourt saying that thugs were actually harassing these ad hoc staff in River State. I mean, anything could have happened. The security of these people wasn't even considered.
It is a call to service and they deserve to be protected at least.
They feel abandoned.
Gentlemen, you watched that piece of report from our correspondent, Ifeyiwa Aronu. Now, they raised, that was just from Etiosa Igboefon area, political thugs disturbing them, pilfering, and then the training allowance not also paid. Looking at the conduct or these all issues in the whole, how do you react to the treatment of these young individuals who are supposed to be called to serve the nation?
I mean, it's atrocious. I can't find the adjective to use for how these guys, whether it's the youth corpers or the other ad hoc staff, have been treated by INEC. First of all, if you gather that number of people to one spot overnight, there is a grave security concern, and it is your duty and your responsibility to take care of those guys. So where was the police? Where was the police? Where was the army? Or whatever, whoever was supposed to be there to protect them so that they don't get harassed. Now, this raises a point. As at the time they were being harassed, did those guys harassing them know the elections had been postponed or not? We don't know. So which means that assuming the elections was going to go ahead, these guys are exposed to intimidation, to being influenced, probably compromised, under threat. So this calls to, memory, things like underage voting in the north, and how we can now see how easily those kinds of things can happen, because who are you as the presiding officer to see a young boy that you can obviously see is 11 or 12 to say no when those thugs...
You've been shaken up.
You've been shaken up overnight and you've been told, try now. And you want to go meet your ancestors or something. So I think that INEC is really, really, really failing. And I actually say that Nigeria is a bit of a miracle. The fact that we even succeed in doing these types of exercises at all is a miracle, because our planning is poor. Sense of obligation and duty and responsibility by government to the people and to their workers is atrocious. But, somehow we still carry these things through.
Mr. Sodje, you also watched that, but I would like to pick your brains on the behind-the-scene shot that was there. There was a woman who was staring, apparently preparing jollof rice or something. This was supposed to cater for the ad hoc staff. Does that mean that that money that was expected if the elections were held today has gone to waste? Well, they'll have their meal, and then come next week again, she's going to have to cook again, then where comes the money? We keep on saying we don't have enough money, we are not managing our resources well, and yet we allow these to happen.
I think that woman cooking there is not cooking for a party or for the people, it's for sale. Because at polling booths, you have people coming to sell food and others. That is one that is going to be wasted.
Apparently, inside information is that food was for them, although it was being hoarded at the same time.
It's possible, yes. I heard that they're cooking for words and to keep them there.
Absolutely.
The people are going to eat the food in anger because the food hasn't paid for.
If they get access to the food.
If they get access to the food, that is another challenge. It's a pity, like what my man just said here, that there's no plan for anything. We don't think things through before we start. How can you do that to these people? Then we remember the last election, there was a lot of deaths of corpers in particular. Today, does it show that there's any insurance? Does it show that we have learned from 2015? Even with then talk about the ad hoc staff, do you think if they get paid for this one that has been postponed, they will want to come to work next week? These are the things that will throw up more challenges for these people, because some of them will no longer be interested after having gone through this hardship that they were not expecting. So it takes us back to this point that we're trying to be optimistic. I was yesterday, when I was asked questions that INEC is going to put, I said, no, they're going to work overnight. Logistics is going to happen. They're going